The gunshot cracked through the summer air, glass shattering across a crowded Chicago coffee shop. A masked robber stormed in, pistol raised. "On the floor now," he barked. People dropped, trembling, everyone except David Lawson, a 37-year-old single father in a faded jacket. His 10-year-old son Noah clutched a comic book as the gunman turned his weapon toward a woman in a navy suit, Sophia Grant, CEO of a billion-dollar firm. David didn't think. He just moved. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. Chicago's summer air buzzed with heat and noise, the kind that stuck to your skin. Near the river, the small brickfront coffee shop was alive with clinking cups and chatter. David Lawson, 37, sat near the back, sipping plain black coffee while his 10-year-old son Noah flipped through a comic book. David's clothes were simple, his posture quiet, but his eyes scanned the room with a soldier's instinct he thought he had buried years ago. The door burst open. A masked man stormed inside, waving a pistol and shouting for wallets. Customers froze. A woman in a navy suit at the counter, the kind of presence that screamed power and poise, raised her hands, but her calm was a mask. Sophia Grant, CEO of one of Chicago's biggest tech firms, didn't look like someone used to begging. The robber moved toward her, snarling, shoving her shoulder. David was already on his feet. His movements were fast, controlled, the kind of training you don't forget. He twisted the man's wrist, slammed him into a table, and disarmed him before most people had time to gasp. The gun clattered across the floor. Sirens wailed outside as someone had already called the cops. Sophia turned, her breath caught not by fear but by the insignia stitched faintly on David's jacket, a faded Ranger patch. She recognized it. Not many would. She whispered almost to herself, "You're not just some guy." David only shook his head, pulled Noah close and muttered, "I'm just a father." By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Masked gunman foiled by unknown civilian. News anchors replayed shaky phone footage of David's takedown. But his name never appeared. He had slipped out with Noah before police could question him. Sophia Grant, though, couldn't let it go. She'd seen that Ranger insignia, seen the discipline in his every move. It reminded her of classified briefings she'd once sat in on years back, when her company worked with federal contracts. That kind of skill didn't just vanish into obscurity. So she found him. Not hard if you had resources. Late that evening, she stood outside a gray brick apartment building on the south side, watching him sweep the narrow hallway in his janitor's uniform. David looked older here, tired, as if every paycheck was a battlefield of its own. Noah darted past with a backpack, chattering about summer baseball practice. "You didn't stick around for the cameras," Sophia said. David looked up, unimpressed. "Didn't have a reason to. You saved my life. I didn't do it for you. I did it so my son wouldn't have to see a woman shot in front of him." His voice was flat, but his jaw tightened. Sophia studied him. Behind the worn uniform and weary eyes was a man carrying far more than bills. "You were Army?" she pressed. "Special operations?" David dropped his mop into the bucket. "Lady, I'm a janitor. That's all I am now." But as she turned to leave, Noah tugged at her sleeve. "My dad fixes everything," he said with a grin. "Even the scary stuff." Sophia smiled softly, but her mind was racing. Whoever David Lawson really was, she intended to find out. 2 days later, Sophia sat in her glass-walled office overlooking the Chicago River. Most CEOs thrived in boardrooms, but she was distracted, replaying the coffee shop moment. That patch on David's jacket nagged at her. She typed his name into a private database her company maintained. The results were thin, almost too thin. Army record sealed. A discharge date 10 years back. Mentions of covert deployments that didn't officially exist. And one line buried in an old report, Operation Halbert, Team Leader Lawson. Successful disruption of arms trafficking syndicate, estimated losses to target, $1.2 billion. Sophia sat back hard. She remembered that case. The arms dealer who vanished into exile swore vengeance on the ghost who'd dismantled his empire. And here he was, sweeping floors to keep his son fed. That evening Sophia tried again. She found David outside the community center where he moonlighted as a night security guard. He spotted her instantly, suspicion flaring. "You're following me now?" he asked, voice low. "You're not who you say you are," she countered. "And if I'm right, your past is about to catch up with you." David's eyes narrowed, the kind of stare that belonged more to a battlefield than a city street. "You don't know what you're talking about." But when a black SUV rolled slowly past, its tinted windows pausing just long enough to linger on them, David's face drained of color. He grabbed Noah's shoulder, pulling him closer. Sophia whispered, "That wasn't random, was it?" David didn't answer. He just muttered, "It's starting again." Chicago nights had their own rhythm: sirens, distant trains, the hum of neon signs. But David felt something heavier that evening, like the city itself was holding its breath. He walked Noah home quickly, eyes scanning every corner. From across the street, headlights flickered once, twice. The same black SUV. Whoever sat inside wasn't just watching, they were tracking. Sophia followed them up the steps to David's cramped apartment building. He turned sharply on the landing. "This ends now. You're not dragging yourself into this." "I'm already in it," she snapped. "That man in the SUV, he's not after me. He's after you. And if I'm right, he's connected to the arms dealer you buried years ago." David's jaw clenched. He hated hearing the past spoken out loud. "That life ended when I came home with my son. I don't fight wars anymore." "Maybe not," Sophia said quietly. "But war just found you again." A sudden crash downstairs, glass breaking. David shoved Sophia aside, pulling a pistol from a hidden lockbox inside his door. Noah peeked from behind the couch, wide-eyed. "Dad." 3 men in dark jackets were already on the stairwell, moving with trained precision. Not common thugs. One called up, "Lawson. The boss sends his regards." David's blood ran cold. 10 years hadn't erased old enemies. He raised the pistol, voice sharp and steady. "Noah, bedroom now." Sophia, pale but unflinching, grabbed the boy's hand and darted down the hall. David stepped into the flickering light of the stairwell, his shadow long against peeling walls. The silence broke with the first gunshot. The stairwell thundered with gunfire. Bullets shattered plaster and rattled pipes. David dropped flat, returning 2 precise shots that sent the intruders scrambling for cover. The old instincts had never left him: angles, movement, timing. It all came back like muscle memory. Sophia crouched in the bedroom, shielding Noah behind her. She caught glimpses of David moving in the hallway, calm, efficient, terrifying in his control. This wasn't a janitor. This was a soldier who had fought wars in the shadows. "Stay down." David barked, then rolled behind the couch as another burst of gunfire shredded the doorframe. He fired back, hitting one man in the leg. The others cursed, retreating toward the SUV. Tires screeched outside. Silence fell, broken only by Noah's shaky breathing. David lowered his weapon, scanning the stairwell, then slammed the door shut. His chest heaved, but his eyes were steady. Sophia's voice shook. "They weren't here to scare you. They came to kill you." David checked the magazine, jaw tight. "They won't stop. Not until I'm gone, or until he is." Noah peeked up, frightened but trying to be brave. "Dad, who is he?" David hesitated. He'd spent years burying the name, pretending it was over. Finally he spoke. "A man I ruined once. An arms dealer who lost everything because of me. Now he wants it back, and he'll burn anyone near me to get it." Sophia's throat tightened. "Including me?" "Including Noah." David didn't answer. He just reloaded, eyes cold. The past had found him. And this time, it had his son in its crosshairs. By dawn, the apartment looked like a war zone. Bullet holes scarred the walls, and David knew it was only a matter of hours before more men came back. He packed a duffel quickly: cash, spare clothes, Noah's baseball glove. The boy clutched it tight, refusing to cry. Sophia stood in the doorway, pale but defiant. "You can't keep running, David. He's not just after you anymore. He's moving on your life, and mine." "What do you mean?" David asked. She pulled out her phone, showing an encrypted message from her assistant. "Board meeting infiltrated. New investor pushing for control. Name Viktor Myrov." David froze. Myrov, the arms dealer he'd dismantled years ago. Everyone believed he was hiding overseas. But here he was, buying his way into Chicago's business world, and into Sophia's company. "He's laundering money through your board," David muttered. "If he gets control, he'll have cover, power, and a front for everything he couldn't rebuild after I burned him." Sophia's voice was low, urgent. "Which means I'm a target now, too." David looked at Noah, then back at her. Every instinct screamed to cut ties, disappear, and protect his son. But something stronger fought back: the realization that if Myrov won, there'd be nowhere safe for any of them. Sophia stepped closer. "You saved me once in that café. Don't walk away now. Let me stand with you." David exhaled slowly, the weight of choice pressing heavy on his shoulders. Finally he nodded. "Then we fight him. Together." Outside, across the street, the black SUV idled once more, watching. Waiting. David hadn't planned to ever step back into the world of shadows, but by evening he was there, sitting in a dingy basement office of an old friend. Marcus Hawk Hawkins, former intelligence analyst, still ran a quiet side business digging up information people wanted buried. "You're lucky I still answer your calls," Hawk muttered, tossing a USB stick onto the table. "Myra's been building shell companies for 2 years. Chicago's just his new playground. He's laundering cash through Sophia Grant's board. She's his ticket to legitimacy." David clenched his fists. "And his way of drawing me out." Hawk leaned forward. "That SUV outside your apartment? His men. He's not sending amateurs either. These are ex-special forces. They won't stop until he gets you or Sophia." Meanwhile, Sophia tried to keep her normal life intact. At the board meeting the next morning, Viktor Myrov himself appeared, polished suit, gray streak in his beard, eyes like cold steel. He smiled as if nothing in the world could touch him. "Miss Grant," he said smoothly, "a partnership with me would guarantee stability." But beneath the table, Sophia's phone buzzed. A text from David, "Get out now. They know." Her chest tightened. She glanced at Myrov, who caught her eye and smiled wider, as though he knew who was watching over her. That night, when Sophia returned to the safe apartment David had arranged, she found Noah waiting at the table, sketching. The boy looked up. "Dad, I wrote my essay for school. It's about my hero." David forced a smile. "And who's that?" Noah held up the paper. "You." David's throat tightened. Because he knew, heroes don't get to run forever. Chicago's skyline glowed with summer heat as Sophia's company towered above the river. But inside, chaos brewed. Servers crashed, alarms rang, and security scrambled through every floor. Someone had planted a virus in the system, wiping years of data in minutes. Sophia stood in the boardroom, staring at the monitors flashing red. "Who has access to this?" she demanded. The head of IT swallowed hard. "Only one new shareholder group. Myrov Holdings." Her stomach dropped. It wasn't just business sabotage. It was war. At that same hour, David and Noah were leaving the community center when he noticed it. The same SUV parked too long across the street. This time, doors opened. 2 men in dark suits stepped out, moving like predators. David shoved Noah behind him. "Go inside. Lock the door." The men approached calmly, one flashing a grin. "Lawson. The boss says hello." David didn't wait. He moved first, fists like iron, dropping the first attacker with a blow to the throat. The second pulled a knife, but David twisted his arm, slammed him into the hood of the SUV, and disarmed him with brutal efficiency. When police sirens wailed nearby, the men slipped back into the vehicle, retreating into traffic. But the message was clear: they weren't afraid to strike in daylight, not even with Noah nearby. Later, Sophia arrived shaken, files in hand. "He's inside my company now. I can't trust my board, my staff, anyone." David nodded grimly. "Then you trust me. Because he's done waiting. And the next move, it's going to be bigger." Through the window, Noah listened quietly. His small hand clutched the crumpled essay with one word underlined: hero. The air in Sophia's penthouse was heavy, curtains drawn against the summer night. David checked every lock twice, every shadow in the hall. Noah slept fitfully on the couch, clutching his comic book like a shield. Sophia paced. "If Myrov has men on my board, then someone close to me has already sold us out." David didn't answer. His instincts told him she was right. Too many attacks lined up too perfectly. Someone had fed Myrov their every move. The answer came sooner than either expected. At midnight, Sophia's phone buzzed. An email from her own chief financial officer, marked urgent. "We can't stop him. Surrender your shares at tomorrow's meeting. It's the only way to survive." Sophia's hands shook. "She's supposed to be loyal. She's been with me for 10 years. David scanned the message, jaw tight. Loyalty doesn't survive fear. Myrov buys it or breaks it. Before Sophia could reply, the power snapped off. The apartment plunged into darkness. David grabbed his pistol, signaling her to stay back. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, headlights glowed below. 3 SUVs this time. "Get Noah?" David hissed. The elevators clanged. Boots hit marble. They were coming up. Sophia's breath caught. "They'll kill us all." David turned, eyes hard as steel. "Not tonight." He opened the emergency stairwell, pulling Sophia and Noah with him. The sounds of men spreading through the penthouse echoed above. David moved them down flight after flight, his voice steady in Noah's ear. "Stay close, son. Remember what we practiced. Quiet steps. Don't look back." On the 12th floor, the stairwell door burst open. A figure blocked their way, one of Myra's lieutenants, gun raised. David stepped forward without hesitation. The lieutenant's gun glinted in the stairwell light. Noah froze, clutching Sophia's hand. David moved fast, sidestepping, slamming the man's wrist against the railing until the weapon clattered down the stairs. A brutal strike, quick and final. The man collapsed. But more boots thundered above. They couldn't keep running. David shoved open the 12th floor door, pulling Sophia and Noah into a dim office corridor. Glass walls reflected their fear back at them. Then a voice cut through the silence. Cold. Familiar. Lawson. At the far end, Victor Myrov stepped from the shadows in a tailored suit, flanked by 2 armed guards. His smile was razor-thin. 10 years I waited. And here you are, reduced to janitor work, hiding behind a child. David's jaw tightened. Better a janitor than a parasite. Myrov's eyes flicked to Sophia. And you? Miss Grant. You could have been my crown jewel. Instead, you chose the ghost who ruined me. Sophia didn't flinch. I'd rather stand with a man who protects people than one who destroys them. For a heartbeat, silence hung thick. Then Myrov raised a hand. His guard stepped forward, only to be cut off by shouts and floodlights. FBI agents stormed the corridor, weapons raised. David blinked, then saw Hawk, his old ally, at the front. Told you I had your back, Hawk called. Myrov cursed, his smile vanishing as agents swarmed. The empire he rebuilt was crumbling again, this time in handcuffs. Hours later, as dawn broke over Chicago, David stood outside Noah's school. Sophia waited beside them. Noah handed his father a sheet of paper, his essay. David read the final line aloud, voice thick. My hero is my dad. Because he never stops protecting me. David looked at Noah, then at Sophia. For the first time in years he felt it, peace. The war was over. And the victory wasn't in shadows or guns. It was in being a father. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.